Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Frankly Stoned podcast. Frank, I alluded to it before we started rolling, but I wanted to save it, to kick off the show.
Yeah.
Season's changing, man. It is no longer a quiet Door County winter.
Which it really isn't anymore anyway, but we'll save that for another day.
But regardless, I was out at one of our local watering holes, actually your favorite watering hole last night, Husby's. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. I went there to catch the end of the Bucks game and walked inside. It was like 9:30. And so still dinner service. And there is Get Low, Uncensored, is playing.
During dinner.
And there are 4 bachelorette parties just getting down. It was, I got to be honest, it was a little much for me.
Yeah. Well, you're old now, and you can't appreciate these things.
No, dude, I didn't appreciate it at all. But it did get me thinking that we are in this really weird transition time, and I know I can't be the only one that is feeling it. Like, are you just like all fucked up with your schedule right now too?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking today about how, like, even squeezing in this podcast today, I got to go to dinner with my family after I worked today. I didn't really work.
Well, you were on the clock.
Kinda.
Neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. But I've also, I'm starting to get this anxiety because I'm looking at the date and then I look at my calendar and it's creeping so close to May. Mm-hmm. And at that point, there's no time for anything. Like, it's just go, go, go.
Yeah, and it's great. There is...
Yeah, because there's money.
Well, money and Door County summer's awesome, man.
Yeah,
like, it's still awesome. Like, it's not, it's different than, when there was, we didn't give a fuck and we had no responsibilities. And
the best days.
But that's what the glory days are. Mm-hmm. And it's still, it's still the best. And I'm not jaded on, it's too busy, you can't do anything. It's cool. Like, it's good that everything's open. There's stuff to do. There's a shitload of people around. And it really is the best, but it does, like, I have to mentally prepare for stuff like finding parking spaces. The amount of time it takes to get places.
Miles Danhausen would stop you right there and say, if you're in Sister Bay and you're not parking on Mill Road, you're wasting parking space. People don't know about Mill Road.
That's true. Yeah. Shout out Miles. But dude, it's just like it's crazy, and I need a little time to adjust. And
but you don't get it. That's the thing. Is
apparently not.
I mean. You've lived here enough seasons to know that, or enough years to know the seasons,
yeah.
And that it's just all of a sudden it goes from you can turn left in Sister Bay to good fucking luck.
Yeah, one day, like, you see it starting to happen, you're coming up on it, and there's a line of cars, and you're like, oh no. Shit.
Wait a minute! I was supposed to be ready.
Yeah, but you're never
you
ready.
Never get to get ready. It is an ebb and flow, a 6-month ebb and flow. Every 6 months, you are overwhelmed, and then you go, "Hey, where's summer and all the money?" And then it's here, and you're like, "Get this out of here."
First, I need to hold on. I need to.
Whoa, I wasn't ready.
Yeah, I need to finish relaxing first. But there are, like, all of these, like, unofficial kickoffs to summer. Like, there's, like, the slow ramps. I feel like this upcoming weekend, the last weekend of April, is now like the kind of like the new like local kickoff with the Barney Fun Run.
Yeah.
I feel like that has now kind of cemented itself as the first like good party of the summer. and it's early enough where it hasn't been co-opted by too many tourists yet. Which, but that's like because the kickoff always felt like half marathon weekend, which seemed to, I don't know if it was intentional or whatever, but it just always seemed to coincide with Derby weekend, Kentucky Derby weekend
Cinco
too.
de Mayo.
Yeah, right, exactly, and that is now just like a busy ass weekend. Like that's just busy.
Oh yeah, that's like whoa, it's gonna be
everywhere,
and then it calms down a little bit till Memorial Day. But well, Mother's Day is pretty crazy too, man.
Opening day. Little teaser there. But all the businesses slowly start to open up, and that's cool. You get to go to all these spots that haven't been open, and one of the places that I'm really excited for, your place of employment, Roots Inn and Kitchen. When are they? Can you drop it? Can you leak it on the podcast? The opening
so
day?
They're opening that first weekend of May, so half marathon weekend, which is it's going to be like, hey, welcome to it.
Yeah.
We're not slow ramping this year. We're going to be slinging out either brats or broccoli wings.
Oh, so I saw that. In case anybody doesn't know, Roots has decided that for whatever reason that they put out a very cryptic Facebook poll just saying if we had to get rid of, or if we had to save one of these items, which one would you want to save? Either the broccoli wings or the brat. And
the broccoli wings seem to have won in a landslide.
I did not vote for the broccoli wings. I voted for the brat.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep my vote secret.
That's fine.
Because that's my right as an American.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. But I got to ask, why?
Well, I mean, I don't have all the information. I think it has to do with hood systems.
You know what? That's so boring.
I know.
I wanted there to be some.
No, actually, here's the thing. They want to decide if they hate carnivores or vegan.
Well, that's it. So this was. I feel like they set themselves up. To go full vegan, which makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, because you hate vegan food.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of it.
You don't like the broccoli wings?
Oh no, the broccoli wings are great.
Yeah,
they're great.
Yeah.
I would prefer a regular chicken wing.
Okay.
I think they're vegan DVDs.
What was that, Dan?
Vegan DVDs.
Hey, don't say that name.
No, we don't. We're
don't
done.
Speak the devil's name on this podcast.
We're done mentioning vegan DVDs. Bleep that out.
Hey.
Until I wasn't sure if the people could hear it, and we're not going to mention them again. They who will not be named. Until they come on the podcast. Those are our demands. We're done talking about them until they come on the podcast.
Yeah, we're talking about Roots. Actually.
Roots.
Yeah. Which opens the first weekend of May.
And their commitment to veganism.
Well, and perhaps an occasional meat sandwich if you consider a bratwurst a sandwich.
Yeah, well, that's you should go back. Well, we discussed that on one of our early podcasts.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
People are fired up about this root stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to name names, but a certain employee at Husby's that you're related to.
Okay.
he was really having a fit. I met up with Colin and Sarah after they got back to town, and he's really upset that the loaded brat might be no more.
I bet he would. I mean, yeah. So first off, he's a big eater, and and loves both the brat and the wings. And the wings. They're two of his favorite things. So I mean,
do you want to live with mom? Do you want to live with dad?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's terrible. Did he abstain from the vote because of that, or
I can't remember. I believe he said he did not vote because he was upset.
Yeah, I hurt his feelings
but his argument was the loaded brat is what made you
That's my argument. I mean, I want. Yeah, no kidding.
Runs in the family.
Shocking, right? Yeah. I'm sure our dad has the same the same take on it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's what made them. That's what Roots started out as, and then they found that veganism was trendy and a moneymaker, and they've just slowly started to weed out all of the carnivore options.
Well, I mean, occasionally there's a sandwich with some meat on it. Quite delicious.
Well, I know.
And we had jerk chicken the last couple of years.
Well, but that's Carlin though. That's him. That's doing his own thing around back. Which hopefully, that actually things I'm excited. Put that up near the top of the list of things that I'm excited about. I
will be eating some jerk chicken this summer.
Actually,
no doubt about it.
We need to get Carlin. We need to talk to Carlin.
Absolutely, we do.
Yeah.
But so I get the argument that it is the staple item. It's what put them on the map there at Roots. But unless you're Elon Musk, how do you deny a poll on the internet?
Right. Yeah. Right. The people have spoken.
Yeah.
No, I hear that. I just don't know why they would, like you said, have it like make people choose between mom and dad. So, it's tough because I love Roots.
Yeah.
Colin and Sarah are great.
Oh boy.
And I will still go there if the brats are gone. But I will be ordering less food. I will still drink a bunch of Chavos and enjoy all the surroundings and see our friend Hey Man the Sandwich Man. Watch you slanging. But dude, that's going to be tough for me. So
yeah, you've always loved sausage.
Yeah. You know me.
I do.
God damn it. All right. We should
Speaking of sausage.
Well, how are you going to... Okay, let's hear the segue.
Well, you know what you could get at a baseball game?
Tell me, Frank.
A fucking hot dog. That's a sausage.
Well done.
And do we have one of our favorite interviews ever coming up
Dude,
next?
Yeah, we finally got to sit down with the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Annis-Wild, to talk all things Door County League baseball. Dude, it was so much fun. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. So should we just shut up and cut it to ourselves?
Yeah, I could shut up.
All right, let's shut up. All right, we are here with a very special guest. Good friend, but first time meeting in person. It is Jason Annis-Wild. Jason, man, first off, thank you so much for making the trip up to be with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So we brought you in, obviously, for us to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is the Door County League baseball. You are an expert on the subject because, well, actually, why don't you give people the resume? Why are you the man to talk to when it comes to the Door County League?
Is this going to be a two-part episode? Or
we could.
Okay. So I won't get into a lot of the deep logistics, but I started right out of high school playing for Institute, and I was at 1987. And back then, you couldn't do both Legion and the County League. And my first year at Legion was Junior Legion. I was a pitcher. It was pretty good. Sevastopol, we had three straight appearances I shouldn't say three straight. 3 out of 4 years we went to state. And after my junior year, which we didn't go to state, we got our ass handed to us by a guy named Psycho Baldry for Gibraltar.
Heard of him.
And I thought that was one of our best teams. But after that summer, I went to play Legion. Kind of got crapped on by the coach. He had me scheduled to do so many games. I got lit up in every one of them. Basically told me, you're not pitching anymore. So I batted about 9 times that year. And that was about it. So I'm like, I'm done with Legion. Went to play for the Cubs. From there, 26 years, full-time, retired in 2012. Had to play 4 of the next 6 years, like spot games because of shorthandedness. Actually suited up for a game last year. So I've been around 31 years. I'm part, I guess you could say, owner of the Cubs with my friend Steve Whipperfirth. That's kind of been a generational thing too. I've wrote for the league for 9 years.
Yeah.
I was a league officer the last couple, so I've been around a long time.
Yeah. So just to rehash it, every season has been for the Institute Cubs.
Oh, absolutely. I've been getting in a lot of discussions lately about the A-Rod thing and all that, and I believe in loyalty. I always have. I, like other players, when I was younger, had a chance to go elsewhere. Was close to going to the Ports with another guy, and then it was like, no, this is where I belong, and rest is history.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool that they picked the name the Cubs, though, because when you don't say Institute and you just say I'm part owner of the Cubs.
Yo, it's bad.
Well, in this neck of the woods, it's pretty popular, too.
I'm going to advertise this as we had the part owner of the Cubs.
You'll get a couple more viewers in, listeners.
That's awesome, man. But first off, last year when we did our deep dive into the DCL and we were asking all the guys who we had to talk to, you were the one unanimously. Everyone was like, you gotta talk to him. And hold on, they didn't call you Jason. I don't want to get your nickname wrong, so tell me what do people call you?
Crypto. You can think of like cryptocurrency,
right?
But
Crypto.
Just throw an E in there. Yeah.
Why?
Short story. Sitting in Spanish class, like my sophomore year, me and a guy were looking at a Spanish dictionary, calling each other random names. He looks at me and says, "You called me a crypto." It wasn't in the Spanish dictionary. He made it up right on the spot, so I tell everybody it's Spanish for stud. But it's stuck, and like I said, nobody calls me Jason.
That is one of the most perfect Door County things where everybody. We already had a psycho-balgery reference here. There's going to be we're going to be talking about a lot of people in code here. But that's just perfect where you have a nickname, but it's not even like a good. It's not even like a good genesis. It's just happened, and you're like, oh, well, I guess that's it now.
Yeah, it's stuck. And you're anointed crypto. That's it.
It was a Spanish book, but
yeah.
But you, I
mean
started
stud. Get it
stud. Yeah,
straight,
stud
man.
in Spanish. Right. Okay, got it. So everybody was saying that we got to talk to you, but then I started to I realized that you were the guy that wrote all the hilarious matchup, reviews and predictions, kind of like the SWAM of the Door County League. So, first off, plug there. When you're reading the Peninsula Pulse this summer, you have got to read the DCL predictions. They're brilliant, man. Have you always had a knack for writing or just humor? It's just it seems so natural.
One of the things you got as you go through life, you find out where your hot spots are. And I joked, I did a speech at the Hall of Fame banquet that most people know that I do these sound bites and all this stuff at Institute games, and it can annoy some people. And I said, okay, so you struck out. I played a song making fun of you, and it upsets you. I said, try growing up with the last name of Annis and having it purposely mispronounced 90% of the time. You learn to have a sense of humor, and you learn how to fight. And everybody that knows me knows that something clicked right out of high school that I just stopped taking life too seriously. I have a good time. I'm serious when I need to be, but I'm sarcastic. I will get into one-liners with anybody, and when we get to some of the stories, you'll see that, but it's just who I am, and I don't shy away from that. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the right podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So we have you here for two reasons. One, we want to talk about the DCL season that's going to get started here in a handful of weeks. But I think the more interesting reason that we have you here is to talk about DCL seasons of old. So I kind of want to sandwich the new with the old. So can you get it started? Not your best, because I want to save your best for later on in the podcast. But can you hit us
not
with
necessarily last, but
right? Yeah, not necessarily. No, but I want you to hit us with just a solid story of DCL olden times, something that when somebody asks you, why is the DCL great, something that you think of instantly.
well, let's go way back because it's going to lead to stories later. But you had Wally on here.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it again the other day. And one thing he said, I'm like, I'm calling BS, Wally, because he said, I never purposely tried to hit somebody. And I yelled at this computer screen. I'm like, bullshit. You tried to hit me once every year because we had this relationship and it started when I was first year in the league. We're playing at the old church field. A young kid, I'm up, and here's this imposing guy, and I ripped a shot right up the middle. Sprint to first base, high five the first base coach. I look, and here's Wally halfway to first base already. And I'm like, and he goes, you little cocksucker. And I step back, and I'm like, I looked at the first base coach. I'm like, okay, I realize I'm only 17.
Right.
But I've played a lot of ball to that point. That's the first time I've ever been called that on a baseball field. Now, I've been called that several times since, but that opened my eyes, and that just kind of started that relationship with me and him, and we'll talk about it later. But
what was he? I mean, it's just because he was pissed that you got a hit, or did he think you were a hot dog in it, or what?
No,
was...
and I think most people will tell you about Wally. He was the uber competitor, but after the game, it was like you guys never played against each other. But I heard stories when guys hit home runs, he would follow them around the base pass, and he was just that much competitor that when you beat him, he wasn't happy about it. And I think here's this scrawny little kid come up and hit one, almost knocked him off the mound, and he's like, "No, that ain't gonna happen."
Just so you know, I own this. Yeah, this patch of dirt right here. Yeah, you might have got me this time, but
He ain't gonna get me again. Here I am to scare the shit out of you, by the way.
Well, your family is sitting here, 60 feet away.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously that was the start of a a bunch of at bats against and for those of you that don't know, we're talking about Mark Warfel, who was if you haven't listened to that podcast, I mean, it's Frank. That's got to be one of the best things that we've ever.
Oh, it's so good
that we've ever recorded.
Yeah, I mean, on either of our old feeds, Unlock the Door, or Laying It On Thick, you can find all those old episodes of our what was it, Door County League Baseball, a series.
Yeah. But I
Some
mean,
great interviews. But yeah, Mark,
they were, and so
what a time.
Yeah, I mean, an insane competitor, obviously, and you went up against each other a bunch. You said something before we recorded. You said you weren't necessarily the best player that he went up against, but you had some of the best battles you feel like in his career. I mean, what do you mean?
This goes back to my personality. So a few years after that, I had one of the best players that ever played in the league, Dean DeFair. Quietest guy, and most people would probably vote him one of the nicest guys. He came up to me at one point. He says, "You're the leader of this team. As people listen to you, and that kind of pumped my chest up. I'm like, all right, and I kind of took it from there. Like, this guy, whether it's Wally, Mark, if they're going to start it, I'm going to finish it. And I typically wasn't one to start it. I mean, but once he started chirping, I started chirping back, and I took on this persona that, he's going to be paying attention to me so much and getting into it with me, just like fans, that the rest of the guys can just do their thing. And it just kind of came this thing, and I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be fun. It makes everything, it just raises the stakes a little bit more. It's not just a little plug for
I wasn't going to say anything.
Frank's a musician and has a wonderful song called Raising the Stakes. So I try to fit that into as many podcasts as I can. But it's one of those things that it's got to just take something that is, it's obviously competitive and everybody takes it seriously, but at the end of the day, these are friends, neighbors, people that are, in the community together that are coming together to play baseball on a Sunday afternoon. So, you're not getting paid. Everybody's got a day job that they got to go to on Monday. So, at the end of the day, you're playing this game for fun, but then you get to make it even more intense by having these little battles with a guy as intense as Mark Warfel. I mean, it's got to just make it even more sweet when things go your way.
And it's an interest. He's one of the, if not the best pitcher that's ever pitched in this league. I can honestly say I've had really good luck against some of the best pitchers in the league. Now I've had others that dominate. It's weird how that works. But I think when you get into that moment, that brings out a better side of you. And it's we'll get to some other stories, but it's interesting how this competitiveness. The county league was back then, and it still kind of is, but people would go to church and then they'd have breakfast. They'd go beat the hell out of each other for 3 hours, and then all go sit in the local bar, whether it was Husby's, Institute Saloon, and drink together. And that's what made it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, just to bring it back to Mark for 1 second, like our interview with him is like, I knew him as the guy at Husby's.
Right.
Chill, very relaxed dude, but even when he would talk about games, 20 years old, 30 years old, like however long ago,
yeah,
you just see this like competitor come up in his eye,
Yeah.
I DJ'd this wedding last May, and I just went to Husby's because it was up that way. Who comes in, sits next to me, and it was like, start talking, and there was no like fighting, there was no throwing at me.
That's good.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Is there ever like a, well, I would have got you that time?
Yeah, not from him, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming season and some of your thoughts on it. So first off, I need to know if Frank and I did a schedule release on the podcast. We kind of went by all the games in the first week, and there was one thing that's kind of been stuck in my craw ever since I released it. Which is that Washington Island doesn't play a home game. They're not playing a home game on opening day. I know that necessarily that might not be a priority for the schedule makers, but don't you feel like DCL week 1 should start on the island?
Boy, you're going to put me on the spot on this one. See where this is going. So, yeah, when the schedule, because they're out, you can do a schedule for the next 20 years. It's really simple.
Right.
How it's laid out. And our young coach was going to the meetings, and I looked at the schedule and I said, they're going to ask to switch opening day. Do not, under any circumstances, switch this because, it's better for everybody to play later summer games. It's warmer, but I'm like, it's July 4th weekend. They would make a killing up there.
Yeah.
But so would we. So don't do it. And after the meeting, and again, you just had some NFL players suspended for gambling, so this might get me in trouble. But I said, ask him what's it worth to him. So needless to say, I'll just stop it right there.
Yeah.
We agreed to switch the games because opening day, they're still going to travel.
Right.
And we're going to make okay. But so we decided to switch that game.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that I wasn't crazy to think that there had to be some sort of conversation here. Okay.
No, that's a scoop.
That's perfect.
Here we go. I'm going to have to call the league office right away and say, "Whoops, this is coming."
They pay attention to what we do here.
Yeah. So then, week 1 schedule aside, I think that this is going to be a really fun year for the league. I think that there is a lot of potential parity, and there doesn't seem to be, to me, a total front runner, or at least that one dog that is head and shoulders above everybody else. So I think that there's a handful of teams that could come out and win the league this year. Is that your impression, or am I not giving one of these teams enough credit?
That's not my impression. I mean, and I listened to your other podcasts, and it's the same thing rings true from everybody. Pitching in this league wins championships. The Cubs, 2 years ago, we had a consistent pitcher. Next thing you know, we're 7-5, end up making the playoff. We lost last 2, but we made the playoffs. Before that and after that, junk. I mean, pitching hides bad offense and sometimes shoddy defense. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the Pulse before. I reached out to them. I haven't heard back. so we're not guaranteed a second season yet. We don't know.
Oh, dang.
Well, maybe once they hear this.
They better.
Yeah, because Swami was 46-11 last year. So,
dang.
But so, like, when I made the predictions last year, like for the start of the season, the two teams that jockey that really shocked me was Egg Harbor. You know, I picked them to finish in the top 4. Well, they throttled us. They had 26 runs. They scored 40 runs the first 2 weeks, and then didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
And a lot of that was pitching. Jacksonport, I figured would be in the mix, but then the team that surprised me early on was Maplewood. They had a young pitcher, but that was a thing, and they were winning games. And you got your Sister Bays and Kohlbergs. I don't think for a couple years are going to relinquish the top 2 spots. And I know that you guys love hearing that, but look at what, my condolences, but look at what they've dealt with on the mound the last 10 years. You know, you have Forkert, you got this Hecht is a great, player. Then the Laughlins, and then you had Demeen for your, they've had talent there. But they could also hit.
Right.
Kohlberg, with Reinhardt, and there's another team that's got 3 pitchers for sure that could start almost every other team.
Yeah.
But they all kind of like join their friends and whatever. Those 2 are still going to be, now again, I haven't talked to a lot of the coaches to see, I hear some rumors, but those 2 are going to be the cream of the crop. Island typically drops a game or 2 away from the Island, which I love every time, but we'll get to the Island fans after that.
Fun.
Well, no, just because I don't like the Island. But anyway, and I don't hide that. And the rest are going to fill. I mean, Jacksonport got a young pitcher, Steves, last year that brought them to, that's the key. I don't think it's going to jockey too much this year, unless Bubba and some of them go to Bailey's Harbor, like I heard.
God dang, that would be so cool.
So, but that would instantly get them 1 or 2 wins for sure, if not more.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Well,
so
I've got to start somewhere. It's been a few years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but they have to. I mean, we went out there, and
one game at a time.
Yeah, but if you're now
we watched your Cubs just pile on them last year.
Well, hold on.
And you went there thinking that was going to be a W. I listened to that.
We were hoping.
Thinking and hoping are 2 very different things.
We needed to try and like fuel it, but we were close, kind of. But anyways, I love talking ball fields with the DCL guys because I know Frank, like we can sit here and we can just talk about like cool stadiums just all day long. And one of my favorite things about the DCL is just how many awesome places there are to, watch a ball game. I've never played, but it's gotta be so cool to get to go to some of these different parks and play. So before I tell you some of my favorites, what is your number one, the greatest field in DCL history?
Well, history, boy, you're taking me back.
History.
Well, they haven't changed. Sister Bay obviously went through a couple fields since I've been playing Institute. I still think Bailey's Harbor has the best quality field. The product hasn't necessarily been the best, but to play or to get true hops, I feel safest there.
Sure.
The Island is probably my worst, but that's because of the fans again. We'll get to the field portion of it. But Institute's newer field, that was great for a while, but there was a stretch where it wasn't kept up great, and so that's kind of fallen back. The rest got their quirks. Most will tell you Kohlberg is like playing on the equator. Right. Egg Harbor some days is just the same. You're down in that dungeon and it gets hot. Maplewood for a right-handed hitter like me,
right?
290, love it.
Short Porsche.
Yeah, but they all, Jacksonport's kind of unique because you just kind of park and they come around and collect tickets because you can just come in from the cornfields. So there's some, and then Sister Bay did a really good job. I was kind of shocked, but then talking to Clark when they built that, it's like, why didn't you guys put lights here when you had the opportunity?
Right,
they didn't want them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever, the powers that be didn't want him. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. We pleaded for lights in Sister Bay on the podcast last year.
It would just be so smart. It makes no sense. Why not have at least one Friday night game in the summer? Like,
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
walk from Husby's with the open
fireworks
intoxicant
after.
law.
But you could have Babe Ruth tournaments, all kinds of things. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm actually I shouldn't be surprised because it's the nicest ball field. But like my answer is Bailey's Harbors too. It is, and from the fan experience as well. Like it's a beautiful place to catch a game. I mean, everything does seem so well kept over there. So I mean, but why is that? You know, so you see like such a and you know, no offense, Bailey's Harbor. You see a product that hasn't won a game in, and what's the streak at now?
2 years for sure. That
2
I know
years
of.
for sure,
Yeah.
right? So at least 2 years they've gone without winning a single game. Yet you have this ball field that is immaculately kept. What's going on there?
Well, you have to look at the dynamics of a lot of the teams. So, like Institute, back when I first started playing, we played in the church field. We couldn't sell beer because it was church property. So, and it was owned by, and it was kept up by players, and kind of Bailey's Harbor has like a total program from youth on up. So a lot of teams and things happen there. So they've got a group of people that take ownership in it, and they, you know,
Of the field in general, the
Right.
field is utilized for lots of reasons.
What,
Besides,
Matt told us
Yeah.
when we interviewed him at the game. Yeah.
Right.
They have
Yeah.
a pretty cool culture.
Yeah.
out there.
and like Jacksonport's got like the bar owner kind of owns it, so it's up to the players to lime it and do. So it just depends. I mean, you got more things at your disposal. Like Bailey's probably has a little more money to put towards it, and that's great. You know, and it should be, and that's why it looks the way it does.
Well, but man,
But the concession staff wouldn't talk to us. So
no, they didn't want to have a conversation with us. I don't blame them necessarily. I mean,
me either. But I just remembered that like we tried to interview the concession staff, and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here." Do you want a cheeseburger or not?
I do recall. I think it was partially due to shoddy math, but we got some hard seltzers, a bunch of them
cheap.
at a deep discount. I feel like, which is a plus.
And we do mention, like, I mean, I've only been to a couple of the stadiums. You probably would know more than I have,
A few more, yeah.
but the concessions are remarkably well priced.
Well, that's
That's going to change this year for
Yeah.
some. Prices have changed. I mean, obviously things, especially meat and stuff, have went up.
Yeah, of
Beer is
course.
still cheap. You can still get cheap.
Yeah. Weed is weed, right? Make
Yeah.
it into beer.
But it is. I mean, okay. So let's just say that the concessions still have some room. Like there's still a little wiggle room before I'm going to consider it to be, no longer a steal. So
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's been a steal.
Yeah.
and now it might be like the most reasonably priced thing in Door County.
Definitely.
Like only $5 for that brat. Like I'll take it.
Sweet. Yeah,
no,
give
no
it to-
problem. Is that a Johnsonville?
all right. I think it's. We have before story time? Do you
No. Story time sounds good. Have we wrapped up? So we're on Colberg, Sister Bay. They're
Yeah.
at the top.
Oh no, good call. So predict. Give us a quick, just your prediction. Unless, I mean, well, yeah. Unless you
Or do
need
we?
to
Is
say
there
that.
a dark horse team, a team that you think might be able to weasel their way in?
Well, again, without a little more knowledge of player pickups and stuff,
Oh yeah,
I don't want to throw my name out there, and
Yes,
because I even got texts from my own fans last year. I picked Maplewood to beat us the second game, and of course after the game, I'm getting texts. So much for Swami. I'm like, I'm like 46-11 counts for something, but again, I don't
what you
think
get when you put yourself out there, man.
exactly. I can handle it. I don't think it's going to change a lot. Like I said, Bailey's and Institute, it's going to be some struggles. Not saying they might not win a couple, but they're not going to challenge for the top and maybe even a playoff spot. I got to think Egg Harbor is going to get a little better, and maybe. So
Yeah, that was such a surprise.
I think it's a 6-team race for the playoffs, but the top two are still. I'll be shocked if it's not Sister Bay and Colberg. Jacksport might surprise you, but you gotta win at least 11 games to win that title. And man, that means beating the top. For Jacksport, they got to beat Colberg and Sister Bay at least once.
At least once,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Well, but so I have this feeling where it seems like from the outside looking in there is a lot up in the air with the Sister Bay Ball Club right now, and I feel like I've said it on the podcast before. I feel like this is a year where they kind of need to put their foot down and establish that they are still the goddamn Bays and are can win a title, or you might start to see some parity. Does that, or some shifting with some of the guys? Because the thing with that ball club is you look top to bottom, there are guys that have been in the league forever, and then there's guys that are brand new, barely getting any time, but obviously are here to play. So there needs to be that shuffling of the guard, right? And or those younger guys are going to go find somewhere else to play. Is that, you think, a fair assessment?
Yeah, but I think any team, your veterans are the ones that have to put that foot down, and they have to say, this is how we're going to do it. That means you got to get home at 4 a.m. You can't be out any later than that.
Such a fair.
Well, I mean, it's especially up this way. It is.
I love that.
But I mean, that's the thing, and it happens on all the teams. It happened in Institute. We were pretty bad for the first 5 years. We would lose games 21-17. We could out hit anybody. Ooh. Couldn't stop them.
Fun to watch.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Great game.
You needed a pitch count or a pitch clock back then, but that's the thing. It's what we did back then is we started recruiting players from other teams that and that we got along with, and say, hey, come on over. And the Sister Bays and Coburg doesn't have the problem with keeping players. The thing that irritates me about the league the last 5 to 10 years is seeing 8 guys sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
That could be playing somewhere else, but they want to play with their buddies. And like I said, 3 pitchers for Coburg, all of them could start somewhere.
Right.
But do they want to? I mean, it's just how they want to spend their Sundays. Okay.
Yeah.
But the league could be so much better if every team had a good ace.
Right.
Thing.
Yeah. And so, and I love, I love the fact that these guys can go and make that decision. Where do I want to play? They have that freedom to move around. But yeah, you do think from a just a health of the league standpoint, it would be so much. I know obviously numbers in general has been an issue, for the league, and not just with players, but umpires, up and down. They need numbers just for anybody that wants to help out with the league. But it is interesting because from a fan's perspective, I just want I want there to be as many good teams as possible. That'd be that's just the dream, is if everybody, that race for 3 and 4 was 3 and 4 in the for the last 2 playoff spots was an 8-team race instead of it ended up being 2 extra teams instead of just it's kind of sorted out. So I just,
if I can interject,
please.
If I'm a Kohlberg fan, I'm like, fuck you. It's our turn to be dominant.
They've been dominant.
Oh, it's fun.
But Kohlberg,
yeah, but the Yankees always want to be the Yankees, man.
Ooh, easy, Red Sox fan, remember?
Well, yeah, sorry.
You've done all right in recent history.
But the league has added a run rule in a wood bat league. There's a reason, because we're so top heavy.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. It just is.
Yeah, right. And so, but what then, that's just got to be something where, like you said, with recruiting, so if I'm a Bailey's Harbor, and goddamn, Frank, they really do need to just talk to us, because we will, we'll pitch hard for whatever team wants to sponsor.
Well, that is true. Yeah,
that wants to sponsor the Frank Stone podcast.
The Cubs. I'm happy to be a Cubs fan.
You are. Yeah, you're clear. Yeah,
no problem
issue there.
Yeah, but anybody want to fork over some dough?
I guess that's where recruiting, really does come in. Where whoever is the veterans in the ball club, or whoever is essentially running the team, if it were me, I would be in these young guys' ear all off season long. Play here, make a name for yourself. And I know it's kind of silly, but the guys who dominate in DCL, you're remembered forever up here.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not going to get on SportsCenter necessarily, but god dang, you could look, we're still talking about Mark Warfel. We're still talking about these these guys, and And yeah, if you're here to play baseball, you're here to play baseball. Why wouldn't you want to play it? Go play.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about like, I don't know if I was ever any good at baseball.
Caveat.
Big caveat. I wouldn't want to be just hanging out riding the pine. I'd want to be playing in a game every Sunday.
It got brutal in the early 90s. Our coach, Kenny Schaefer, he was hated, but he would call, like you said about recruiting. And we got some of, Sturgeon Bay guys. We got to be good because of his recruitment of guys. And some of those guys are my best friends to this day. But he pushed for it, and to the point that we finally won a title in 99, and he never got coach of the year. Other coaches were so pissed at him.
Damn.
Or I shouldn't say, there was a couple. And I always thought that pissed me off, because I'm like, dude, we hadn't won a title in 27 years.
Yeah.
Reward the guy. Just because he made a call or two to somebody that maybe wasn't playing as much, and they came and made us a winner, well, it sucks to be you guys. But
yeah, then
they wanted to play.
Sister Bane goes and calls. Well, they go and call a guy who just got off a major league contract.
Demean?
Yeah, and if they could have Ian Kroll, they'd have him.
Well, they will. They will as soon as he retires.
And talk about, I grew up just down the road from his dad.
Sure.
Back in the day. So, I mean, it's county leagues all over the place,
Yeah. So, yeah, I want to let the stories fly, but before that, what is your honest assessment of the health of the league? As somebody who's been around it for as long as you have, are we in a point where it's optimistic, where you see like things are trending in the right direction, or is this a spot where realistically it's there a little bit of trouble, or is it just kind of middling, just being okay?
Well, I'd like to say they've made liars out of me, because about 7 years ago I preached. I'm like, we need to open this up. I know there's this history of family have to be living here, but I said this league is dying, and at that point the island was struggling to get guys.
Right.
And I said, if we don't do something, this is going to die. Well, it kept going. 4 years ago I said it again, and we've gotten to a point where you can get somebody voted in that maybe isn't necessarily local. And most of the coaches now are, they don't want to see a team forfeit. But still, you look back, like I said, I had to suit up for a game last year.
That's crazy.
And Bailey struggles. And until, we figure out a way to get some of these other players, I think we are in trouble. Because the difference now from when it used to be is the county league was the only game in town back then. That was a rite of passage. That's what you did on Sundays. Now there's so many other things, interests for people. We've changed more into a we don't have the shipbuilding industry, a lot of things. We're more touristy up here. So people are leaving. I mean, they're getting jobs elsewhere. So and you don't see the guys playing 30 years because they're going elsewhere.
Well, and guys working weekends a lot too now,
right?
Because like you said, tourists. You got these guys working service industry.
I can't work on Sunday.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like I can't play baseball at
that's brunch.
Yeah. I got stuff to do. But yeah, I mean, like because that is and that was kind of that's been our assessment of it as well. So it's interesting to hear you say the same thing. Where we just, I don't know, I don't know what the solution is, but and that's why why we like doing these podcasts. It's just if we can get a couple guys that are on the fence about playing, decide they want to be a part of it, then we've done our job and then some. It's
maybe
just
like we could be on that podcast someday.
But if you ask a lot of the players, most will tell you they love Friday night games. Yeah. And that was another thing.
Right.
Me and Jason Baldry got into it, but at one of the meetings a few years ago, he is a traditionalist. Yeah. Doesn't like Friday games. I'm like, if we don't change with the times, we're going to be left behind. And Institute, again, this year we've got 5. Usually we got 5 or 6. The kids love it. The weekend game's done, and they got the rest of the weekend.
They got
themselves.
Saturday night
and Sunday and everything.
And they don't got to be home by 4 on Saturdays.
I think it's helped. It's definitely helped us.
Yeah.
And I think there's one. Coburg typically doesn't like to play. The Island doesn't now because they got pissed at us a couple years ago at a game. But everybody else, Jackson, Port Egg Harbor, we switched Jacksonport's game. They offered it. We'll switch so we can play later in the year on a Friday night.
Yeah.
I think that's helped.
I love that. I mean, so
we have both come out in full support of the.
We got to
Friday
light
night
up the
games.
DCL,
Like,
dude. We got to light it up.
We think it's a great and but with the always caveat, like we said last time when we got into this, is we get the traditional stuff. Like there should be games on Sundays, but
why can't there be one
to not have night games?
Yeah, why can't there be one or two?
Like you're saying, like
why can't there be one or two every week? Like that just makes perfect sense.
And going along with the tourist economy thing, when do people get into town and when do people leave town? They get in Friday, they leave Sunday. So
if you want more people to come check it out too,
Well, that's the thing for us. We found, and this is no embellishment, we'll make as much on a Friday game as we will 3 Sundays.
Damn.
And for teams that aren't successful, that don't make the playoffs every year, that gets that extra
That's
money,
huge.
it's huge. And we actually, when we first opened that field, Jacksonport hosted it was their home game, but they wanted to have it there. And Andy Tank told me, he goes, they made as much that night as they did it like all the other games. So, because you get everybody else from the other fans and players that want to come watch, and there's just that much more attendance.
Yeah.
It's just huge for us.
The other thing that I've been thinking about that the DCL that these individual clubs need to figure out a way to cash in on, and Sister Bay has done it a little bit, and I know at West J, I just saw another post in the Facebook a league about the league group about their merch, but with the way that you can create merchandise nowadays, and I feel like that would be such a huge opportunity for some of these clubs to raise a little money too. You could, then you've got to start developing that fanhood. You have something that people, that it can bring money into the ball club, and it just looks sick. You're walking around town, and you've got an old school Institute Cubs here.
Awesome.
That's such a cool logo. I feel like if we could, get the DCL up a little bit, everybody offering merchandise and playing around with that a little bit, I feel like it could be such a huge opportunity for just to get a little bit more revenue going.
Otherwise, me and Stone are going to be outside the stadium like at Major League games with some makeshift shirts.
Yeah, with our own bootleg Cubs.
After one wash, it turns into something else.
Well, yeah.
But look at Sister Bay,
Right.
Colberg. They have advertising signs,
Right.
but people got to do that legwork. And like us, we only got a couple people running the show. It takes, you need an army basically
Right.
to get a lot of that done.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. It's just one of those things that's it's so cool. You would hate to see it lose steam, as you kind of alluded to, where you've kind of been chirping, we got to figure something out for the health of the league, because it's, it cannot die. Door County cannot afford for this to stop happening. So, whatever it takes, we got to figure it out, man.
Yeah, and I think when I was telling you guys beforehand, joining as a league officer a couple years ago in the group, John Sawyer being part of your Bays organization, and Tom and Mary. But we all had tie-ins. We all had tie-ins of different teams, but we all also have a stake in the game. And I think it's going in the right direction. We just need more help.
Yeah,
obviously.
Well, I mean, I guess going from there, speaking of the history of the league and what we're trying to keep alive, you've got some stories. So where do you want to start?
Well, as I said before, I mean, most of the stories come the farther north you go. Not that each team don't have their jerks, their fans but it seemed like most of my stories when I went back and thought of them were Sister Bay and Washington Island. And I thought, there's got to be something in the water up there. Maybe it's the bong water. I don't know. But so we were talking about Wally, and again, our battles, and I could have went a whole 10 stories on Wally, but the best Wally Sister Bay story, there was a stretch in the 90s. They had won 6 titles in 7 years. They won 4, had a blip on the radar one year, and then they won 2. And that was mid-90s when Institute was starting. We were making the playoffs, and we were starting to get good. We'd always match up against Sister Bay in the playoffs. We won the playoff title 2 straight years, the years that Sister Bay won. But we had a game up there, and of course the jaw-jacking started with me and Wally. And we were getting the best of him. We were kicking his ass pretty good. And at one point, he looks at me and he goes, "I'm going to hit you the next time you're up." And I said, "Bring it. Ain't going to hurt."
This is the guy who never.
Yeah, exactly.
Never
Exactly.
intentionally hit anyone.
So now, and as we tell a couple of these stories, I just want to preface it by saying some of the best guys I've ever played ball against reside up here. I started playing, there was a modified league up here way back when called the Nordor League. There was Husby's, Dordelli. I played with Clark, John, and Tony Gonzalez, the Steves. I got to be good friends with all of them at 18, 19, 20 years old. So we always had a good relationship, even though that we were competitors. So, okay, fast forward. Sister Bay's had a tough run with losing some legends, and JB being one of them, and Clark. And Clark, I think, was gone at that time playing for Coburg, so he wasn't part of this. But anyway, Mark tells me he's going to hit me. So the next inning, two guys ahead of me go back-to-back. And I'm coming up to the plate. We're waiting for him to cross home plate. And I'm like, "You guys realize I'm getting fucking drilled here, right?" Yeah. He's told me he's hitting me. Yeah, we just hit 2 home runs. So sure enough, I get up there, first pitch. Boom, he hits me. I slam the bat down. I sprint to first base. Not realizing the chaos that was going on around me. As I get to first, our coach is coming off. He gets punched off the bench by Rush, Tom Rush. I don't know if it's slap or punch, but he got hit. And I look back, and this is what really endeared me to Institute. The 3 quietest guys, good ball players, but quietest guys, were halfway out to the mound. And everybody's yelling, and there's fights going on, and JB's at first base, and I said, "What do you think, JB? Should we go get in there?" "Fuck it, let him fight it out," he said. And that, as you go with JB after he retired, I'd go play up there, and all you hear is, "Get that batting helmet out of the box before somebody trips over it." I'm like, "Oh, Christ, JB." So he was a good heckler too. But that's one of my favorite. And we ended up kicking Sister Bay's ass that day. Nice. But there was probably the last time that there was almost a brawl in the county league. And you fast forward. So Sister Bay in the early 2000s sucked. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No.
I'm just going to remind you of it. But so you guys had a guy.
Wait. Was Sister Bay bad in the early 2000s?
Yeah, they sucked.
Yeah. So you had a guy named Tim Pinchoff. I'll name drop him here. He had dirty dreads. It looked like every game he came out of the woods and out of a tent. And he would just hackle the hell out of everybody. And we played at the old park one day, and we had some younger players, and because I played with guys and then their kids. And so nobody wanted to play outfield that day for whatever reason. I've been a third baseman pretty much my whole life. So I'm like, "Well, fuck, I'll go out there." Well, there's Pinchoff, and I joked, "His village idiots out there. There's like 6 of them." Yeah. And of course, I'm standing right by him the whole game, and they're just riding the shit out of me. And I looked at him, I said, "You better have a beer ready when this game's done." So the game gets done, we shake hands, and I sprint right out there, and he tosses me one over, and we talked. So the next year after, we're playing at Institute, and there's that voice. I could just hear him just. I kept pointing to the scoreboard. I'm like, "We're kicking your ass again." So the game gets done. You have some beers after, and we go to the saloon. I don't even get in the door, and there he is with a pitcher of beer in each hand. And he hands me one. And I'm like, "What the hell's this for?" He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "So-and-so will give us the finger at the game or yell at us." He goes, "You have fun. You give it back, and he goes, it's enjoyable." And then we sat and drank for an hour. And it's like, those are those moments that I will never forget. And I love the relationships. And like I say, I look back at the JBs and the Clarks. And now when I'm at a game, the Stewies, they will seek me out to say hi before the game. That means the most to me. Before we get north to the island, a Clark story. Yeah. So one year we playing fast pitch and we're heading up to the island. Well, we were bar hopping. Well, we're not going to catch the 9:30 ferry. Our last stop was Husby's. So I'm like, "Well, what are we going to do till morning?" "Well, let's go sleep on Sister Bay's field." And so me and 2 other guys were sleeping on the mound. And of course, I got to have some fun. I look over and all the bases are in place. So I grab third base and I go throw it in the recyclable bin. So we go up, party on the island, whatever, and probably lose because we always did. We're coming back, and you bar hop back, and there we are at Husby's, and there's Clark and John. I said, "Hey, Clark," I said, "I stole third base for the first time this weekend." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, I took yours on Friday night." He goes, "You son of a bitch, we had to go out Sunday and buy a new base." And So that was the good parts. And then
Stole third base.
yeah, I mean that was quick, but that one that was under the dark of night. So those stories and relationships were fun. You go a little farther north, and it got a little dicey.
Oh,
And it always did, because you guys have been up there. They weren't always nice. I mean, and just so they reminded me of how unnice they are, I went up to DJ the graduation this last year. Why, they asked me, I have no idea, because I thought
I could heckle the shit
well,
out
I
of
thought
you.
I told people I need backups. I'm not getting off that island alive.
Yeah.
But I set up and I go in the middle bar, and it was busier than I'm used to seeing. It must be the place to go now. There's all these older people, and I'm sitting there. And of course, everybody's leaning in, chirping. They knew who I was, All of a sudden, some lady, she goes, Alex, who'd the Swami pick this week?
Oh no.
I said, you know damn well who he picked. He picked Egg Harbor, and I hope to kick your ass. And it didn't happen. But so I got to tell 2 island stories if I can squeeze them in. So
Yeah, you got time, man.
So when I was writing back in the early 2000s, and again, I was doing kind of the prediction thing part-time, but not every year, but we had lost back-to-back games on the island after the 7th inning, giving up 8 and 9-run leads. That place was the curse. Said I played 26 regular season games up there. If I won single digits, that would have been a stretch. It's just a bad place to go for anybody, unless you're Sister Bay or Coburg with the juggernaut you got. But so I wrote the article that week, and I said that smell coming from north of the peninsula is Institute's play up there the last 2 years. Clearly taking a shot at us, saying we've stunk it up. Mm-hmm. You know how they are. So they get there early and they take up your side of the field. And so right away from the start, there's old hacking ladies. Yes, what's that smell? What's that smell? I'm like, whatever. Oh, no, and make matters worse, it's 1-0, 3-0, 5-0. Now it's 8-0 by the 5th inning.
Oh shit!
And she's still going. My best friend there, Whipperfirst, playing short, and in between innings, she's going. Finally, I'm like, I can't take it anymore. So I walk over to third base coach's box and I go, you must be one of those inbred fuckers I've been hearing so much about. I look back and my buddy goes, oh no.
Oh no!
She never said another word though. And but
to your face.
well, yeah.
She's at the middle bar every day.
Yeah, motherfucking you to high hell.
But and that takes me to like the last game I had on the island. And like I said, after my last regular season, I played a few games in each, few seasons, but I swore I would never play another game on the island. I wouldn't even suit up because I want the island, or at least in my eyes, to remember my last game up there. So 2012, we're playing. Wally starts, of course, because he's still going strong. That was his last year as well.
Yeah.
And the first 2 times up facing him, little dribblers. I mean, nothing. But it was like a 2-1 game. We were up. And they bring in Troy, who's still pitching for him now. And 2 outs, runner on first and second. I drill one down the line, 2-run score. Gives us a little bit of a cushion, which is never a cushion up there. But it's 4-1. And I had this male voice that I didn't recognize over the years, but it was heckling me just about every time. And all of a sudden, top of the 9th, 4-1. We get the same 2 guys on, 2 outs. I start walking up to the plate, and I hear, Oompa Loompa. And like I said, with JB and all them, I acknowledged some good riffs, and I got in the batter's box. I said, that's fucking good.
That would hurt a little bit.
I said, that pisses me off. So get in the batter's box, first pitch, crank it for a 3-run home run.
Yes.
And I hit it so well that I knew it was gone. And I come out of the batter's box, and I'm going down the line, pointing in that direction. Pimped. Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Get all the way. I step on home plate. I go, keep chirping, Parker, keep chirping.
That's right.
So we win the game. So, and it's, a lot of younger guys, and we're getting dressed, and I see the guy standing over there. I'm like, I got to go talk to him.
Yeah.
So I go walking down the line, and his buddy was halfway up, and he's leaning on the bleachers, and he looks over at me and gives me like, I had no part of it. And I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, how's it going, buddy? He turns around and he goes, yeah. I said, if I'd have struck out there, I said, you'd have been an asshole.
Yeah, right.
He goes, yeah, but you shut me up. And I say, that's what makes it fun.
That's right.
So you fast forward the next year, I'm retired. We follow the team up there. We're sitting in the Bitters pub on a Saturday night. There's our group of 5, and there's a group of 4 people. Didn't recognize any of them. All of a sudden, I hear this voice. I'm like, that's a bitch from last year.
I know that voice.
And I turn around and he's purposely talking loud enough so I hear him.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, I'm the son of a bitch. He goes, come on, I'll buy you one.
Nice.
And that's why I love the county league.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's why I love the
That's
county league.
it, man.
And always will. You know.
It's perfect.
That's why we love it. Like that's just the coolest thing ever, man. All right, what else you got?
I could tell you stories for a couple hours, but I don't know that maybe we'll do a part 2.
We'll do a part. Yeah, no, we
Always do
should.
a
Yeah,
part
no,
two.
save some of those, but like, just hit us with one more. Just send us some on a high note.
So the thing about, like I said, the Sister Bay team and the Island teams, they usually had the better hand of us. Like I said, Sister Bay was bad their first stretch. I told you guys earlier I got a good Island story that I'm not going to put on camera because my kid might watch this at some point.
We hope. Yeah, we hope.
But so when we used to go up to the Island, we'd go Fridays at least.
Mm-hmm.
Thursdays sometimes. I actually went up there with 2 guys on a Wednesday. We made a weekend of it. And
What?
oh yeah.
That's dangerous.
So we
And you're alive.
sometimes. So the campground had a 10-hole miniature golf.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that for years. And I get the bright idea one year. I'm like, well, let's have a pucker open. So that was back when pucker was a big shot. And so me and my buddy Joel, who is a pretty good golfer, we decided to take on 4 guys, and we played 30 holes. I think we lost 27 of them.
Jesus.
So, all right, pretty drunk. But we go to the bars, and it had been raining pretty much the whole weekend, and they were calling for rain till Monday. And so that night, we go to the bar, we party. I end up going back to this campsite, met a Philly. But, when we're hanging out, drinking, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. It's still raining. I'm like, we're not playing tomorrow. Life's good. Lay in the back of my car, take about a 45-minute nap, get up, drive back to the campground. Clouds open up. Sun comes out. It's like 90 degrees. We're playing ball.
God damn it.
I'm like, shit. And that was a typical Island weekend. And that's why I said I don't think we ever won more than a handful of games up there because you just were so hungover. And
That seems to be the consensus from people we talk to is the Island gets you all fucked up, so you're bad the next day.
Well, I said that in 2013 when I went up there, I wore my Cubby cap.
Yeah.
And in the bars, I mean, they're buying drinks.
Yes.
They think I'm still playing. So I'm getting a free drunk out of this.
I love that shit, man. Like the Island puts on where they're just like you think we're being nice, but we know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can take 2 drinks off me tonight because you're not gonna hit a strike tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
So yeah. How do you want to bring this?
No,
back?
I mean, I think we've said everything that we possibly can for now because obviously we could do this for hours. So let's just leave it at Jason. Thank you so much for coming in, man. I'm so damn happy that we're able to finally make this happen. So thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Anything else you want to say for the people back home?
No, like I said, when Stewie texted me last year and I started listening, I'm like, this is great. This is great for the league. I'm glad you guys reached out to me because I love talk. I could talk about this all night.
Hell yeah. Well, we really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
We can listen to it, so we'll see you again.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Fuck yeah.
Another great Door County League baseball interview, Matt Stone. I would say we knocked it out of the park.
God damn it, Frank.
I mean, I think you did more. You nailed it on that one. But a great interview, and we love talking Door County League baseball. I think we mentioned it during the interview, but if you want to go back and we have a series of old interviews with other players and managers and just people from the league that you can find on either of our old podcast feeds. They're still up. It's Laying It On Thick. It's Unlock the Door. It's called Door County League Baseball, a series. Check it out and get yourself up to date if you liked what you heard, and I'm sure you fucking did because
that was awesome.
What is more entertaining than those kind of stories?
And like we've said it before, but even if you're not, like, you don't even have to be a baseball fan. If you are, you'll love it. But if you're just like a Door County or just like a a fan of fun conversation,
Yeah.
like, which is, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not here for like our intellect. So
Well, you just wait. I have a math lesson next.
oh, good. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, like go back and listen to them. But really, you know, and this is the annoying part of the show, but we got to do it because I feel like it's NPR, like, you know, telethon.
Well, I could talk like this.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, that'd be perfect. What
Because
did
Dan just told me, don't whisper.
well, but what did Annis say to you before we started recording? What did he say?
So yeah, we actually both met him for the first time.
Yeah, I'd never met him before.
And he was like, "Oh, he must be the one who sounds like a stoner."
Yeah, talking about Frank. He's not wrong.
So I'm trying to project.
Yeah. Anyways, everybody that listens to this show, we really genuinely appreciate it. If you could do us a favor and subscribe on whatever channel, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, you know, Apple Podcasts, subscribing not only will get you guys notified when we release new stuff, but also it's the easiest way for us to organically grow. So if you like what you're hearing, give us a subscribe, and please just like share it. You know, tell somebody that you listened to these two idiots and it was not as bad as you thought it was going to be.
And honestly, subscribe on all channels. Just do it all.
Yeah.
Or
it doesn't
Or if
hurt.
you run into us in the street, just like hand us some money. That works too.
Well, I'd be fine with that.
You don't have to subscribe then, but if you do both, I mean,
I would prefer it though. I would prefer if you subscribed instead of I would prefer the subscribe over the money. Yeah, because
okay.
I mean, if enough people subscribe, then you know the money takes care of itself. Like, dude,
you know, that's why you're the boss around here.
dude, yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, I am trying to diversify my income stream. So yeah, podcasting really does seem.
I
like,
mean, that's the one, man. It's up and coming.
yeah, for sure. But we also have one other thing that we wanted to talk to the listeners about. We want to start a Q&A segment. So on Instagram, send us a DM with any questions that you guys want to hear. Whether
And
it's
that
just,
Instagram is Frankly Stoned Podcast.
nice.
Yeah, whatever you want to know about us.
Personal questions or like opinions on stuff, and we'll, you know, if there are some good ones, we're going to find some good ones, and then we're going to start to read them at the end of shows. Because honestly, dude, it's been I've had so many people that I wouldn't expect come up and be like, I listen to the podcast or I watch the podcast. People are into it, man.
That's
so
great.
we want to interact with you guys more, and we do really appreciate all the love and all the support. Frank, anything else that we gotta say to the people before we let them go?
Nah, I mean, just reiterate what you said. We love you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And bye.
Thanks, everybody.